Welcome to the show. My name is Dean. DeanBlundell.substack.com is where you can find me, and joining me today for a quick 30, maybe 40 minutes. We got three pretty intelligent things to discuss today. And I love a good I told you so. Schadenfreude might be my favorite emotion, favorite feeling. And I know that is a shared experience with the host and curator of The Warning. He is a former presidential advisor. He also is, as you know, everybody, always right, has been since the first iteration of Trump. And he joins us live from parts unknown wearing a Blue Jays hat I have not seen yet, so I'm immediately jealous. Please welcome Mr. Steve Schmidt from The Warning, everybody. How are you, brother? You all right?
Dean, good to see you. Good to
Yeah.
see you.
Where'd you get the hat? Can we start there first? Because I'm jelly.
I got it at Rocket Center.
Did you really?
Yeah. That's a Blue Jay store. And man, we're gonna be good. We're gonna be good this year.
Yeah,
Back
I
to
think
the
so
World
too.
Series.
I think so. I think I'm excited. I'm hearing good things about Bo's chat, but that's not why we're here to chat today. We've got bigger fish to fry. Before we get to Cohen, Michael Cohen obviously is tucked tail over the past couple of days. I've got a relationship with him, and I work with people that have a relationship with him. So we're going to get to that as the Epstein emails came back to get him yesterday in a big, bad way. And before we get to some breaking Washington Post reporter news, not sure if you saw Trump at the Ford plant in Detroit yesterday get called a pedophile protector, and then legitimately fucking the cheese fell off the cracker, screamed "fuck you" at this hardworking Ford plant employee who chose to exercise his freedom of speech and give him the finger for a solid 2 minutes like you do to someone that just cuts you off in traffic, and then call him a fucking loser on the way out. He was suspended. TJ Saholda is the gentleman's name. Now has about 380 grand in GoFundMe money because people are like, oh yeah, dude, keep it up. We need more of this.
I've gotten the Save America movement email out or on my Twitter, but one man with courage ought to be able to retire early, and and I'm committed to making it happen. I mean, Trump, just like the guy, has no restraint,
Mhm.
no discipline, totally unhinged, the most powerful man in the world. And there's a great Ronald Reagan story. During the free speech era at Berkeley, there was a protest, and Reagan was coming up to the university, and all the students turned their back on him. And so Reagan walked by all the students and up to the front steps, but he didn't go into the building because, he knew at some point that all the students had their backs to him, were going to turn around and look to see what happened, right?
Yeah.
He walked by, but no one was looking at him. And so when those students turned around, Ronald Reagan looked back at them from the top of the steps, and he just went, and all of the students who were there protesting him just burst into laughter. And so whether one of the things that was said about Lincoln was that at the dedication of the Lincoln Memorial by President Harding gave the address, is that all of these men, women that we revere, these were mortal people.
Mhm.
Lincoln suffered from depression. He had doubt, like Churchill. But one of the things that Harding pointed out about Lincoln is he had no capacity for meanness
Mhm.
in him. And Trump is a nasty, vile fucking pig at the highest conceivable level. He's a bully.
Mhm.
And he's a punch down guy. So you have the president of the United States, literally from an Il Duce balcony, right? Giving the finger, saying fuck you to a guy who works on the line. And yet, millions of the stupid believe he's on the side of the working guy. What a joke. And let me also say, who is the CEO of Ford now? Phil Ford, is that who it is?
Yes, sir.
Bill
The third or fourth. I can't remember what iteration of a Bill Ford run.
I don't know which one.
Yeah.
The second, as captured in the movie Ford versus Ferrari, was one of the most arrogant douchebags who's ever lived, walked on the earth. But but I don't know if people know enough about this, but Henry Ford, was the only American CEO that Hitler had a picture of on his desk because he so loved his anti-Semitism. He was a
Pictures of and
virulent,
pictures with, by the way.
right?
Yes.
He was a virulent anti-Semite.
Yep.
Um, and now after that disgrace, I got a lot of shit to do this week, but now I gotta go sell my Ford Bronco and go buy a Dodge, um, or maybe some foreign car. I don't know, but
A
I don't
sub.
appreciate it when these guys put more stuff on my plate at all.
Yeah, say it with your wallet. You know what? It's funny you bring up the Ford family's Nazi history as the founding father of the Ford Motor Company. Henry loved Hitler. He was a card-carrying member of the Nazi American Party. He was one of the funders of that rally at Madison Square Garden. And that fascist leaning, that kowtowing to corporate power, and watching Bill the Third do that yesterday to this gentleman, and then to watch this gentleman, and thank you for donating, and everybody go to Save America, the Save America movement website today, and donate, because this is what Save America does. It brings stuff like this to light. It fights for the worker. It shows you the hypocrisy, which is why I love being involved with the good people at the Save America movement. Proudly wore my shirt in a live stream yesterday. But you know, you bring up a great point. The disparity, the disgust that Donald Trump has always had, despite trying to communicate that in every, lectern speech that he gave the American people, that they're the deep state, he's here for the worker. That was the chef's kiss of examples of what Donald Trump is truly all about, and what corporate America is all about right now too.
Oh, disgusting. It's disgusting. I'll tell you a guy who I really admire is who's tough as nails, that the appeasement Democrats like Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries could learn a lesson from, is Sean Fain, the president of the UAW, the badass.
Did you see
And,
his statement? Yeah.
and no, I haven't seen his statement yet, so I didn't even know. But he's a badass, knows how to negotiate. And he did a great thing for auto workers on his strike, and he cracked corporate America in half, at least the auto companies, and they have no pain tolerance. And as we get into over the next year, the accountability season on this, as the tide turns,
Mhm.
there's too many targets right now, right, to get after them all by Wednesday. But trust me, the number one piece of advice I used to give CEOs during my consulting days was this: if you're going to cave early. It's a lot less painful that way, and you're gonna cave because you don't have the spine in your stomach for it. And none of them do. And they all made some terrible decisions in getting in line with all of this. And and there it is. I just saw something. Did somebody just? I think one of our commenters just said Tellerico time, like James Tellerico
Yeah.
in Texas.
Mhm.
And here's the problem with the Democratic Party, right? I don't. Maybe James Tellerico is the world's greatest genius, but he believes there's six different sexes and God's non-binary, so he's not winning an election in Texas. So no
Amen.
Democrat, right, should spend a fucking penny, right, donating to these people in Texas who have no chance to win a general election at the expense of donating to candidates who can win these elections in the Senate race. And so the era of pretend, the era of delusion, it all needs to come to an end. Alyssa Slotkin, one of my favorite senators, um, it said something very, very important. So the divide in the Democratic Party is not left right. It's not progressives versus moderates. It's between appeasers and fighters.
Mm.
And so I look at Elizabeth Warren and I see a fighter, right? I'm for Elizabeth Warren. I was an assistant to George Bush, counselor to Vice President Cheney. I ran Arnold Schwarzenegger's campaign, John McCain's campaign. Elizabeth Warren is right. You have to fight back.
Mm. And you see that, right? And I'm glad you brought that up because the difference between reality and whatever reality someone would want to force on you is what the institutions tell you to believe. And I'm reminded of it in a song. It's all about cult of personality today, right? You can get any institution to do anything you want, but do you believe in the people in the institutions? There's a song by Living Color called "Cult of Personality." And it talks about that, how when the music dies, all you're left with is effectively pain, right? If you follow that cult of personality. And I watched this morning FBI agents raid a Washington Post's reporter's home, Hannah Natanson. And the reason why allegedly her home was raided, according to WaPo, according to our sources, is that Hannah has been doing some incredible whistleblowing with government sources. And she posted on Reddit December 24th that she had approximately 1,169 different whistleblowers from the US government, from the Trump regime's government, that were now talking to her about what was going on inside the Trump regime, inside the machine, inside the administration or regime, if you want to call it that. So her home gets raided today. To the best of our knowledge, this is the very first time this has ever fucking happened. This is Stalin-esque. This is Putin-esque. This is Hitler-esque. This is China. This is exactly what we're talking about when we were warning people. We had a duty to warn that, hey, listen, it doesn't matter who you are. You do not have freedom of the press in Donald Trump's America. And I'd love your thoughts on this because it's not just, the silencing of America. It's not just the silencing of people like Jimmy Kimmel and threatening to remove non-existent licenses for people like CBS. They're now literally sending armed agents into people's houses to remove their devices to find people who are leaking information about the illegality and criminality by this regime and by Donald Trump. That's what they're doing, and that's what happened today, and I would love your thoughts.
Well, one of the things the Justice Department, the corrupt Justice Department, the lawless Justice Department, the Pam Bondi Justice Department said was that the reporter wasn't the target of the investigation, uh, which I'll have to say is one of the first truthful statements we've heard in a year
Mhm.
from the Justice Department. No shit. What was the target of the search were her sources, and that's what they got. And so the Washington Post put on its masthead, "Democracy dies in darkness." That was the stupidest slogan in the history of journalism. Democracy's dying at high noon, under the bright sunshine. That's how democracy's dying. If I could just say about Jeff Bezos, who's always had a Captain Kirk fetish. He had a cameo in in a Star Trek movie as an alien. But listen, let's face it, right? When he got the part, he wanted to be in Star Trek, so he got to be an alien, but he really wanted to be Captain Kirk. And at some level, there's a I put it out yesterday on the warning. It was a before and after Mar-a-Lago face compendium, and Lauren Sanchez was on it, and Laura Loomer was on it, and how hideously they deformed themselves. But I realized about Bezos is he's finally Captain Kirk. He actually, like Captain Kirk, he's gotten a fucking alien. Um, okay, but Captain Kirk is always getting on the green check, and Bezos has got his green check, right? It's amazing.
Yeah, so it's unbelievable. Glad you brought that
Unbelievable.
up.
Um, but no, it is. The First Amendment is not negotiable, and when Reichsfuhrer Miller, the broken little boy from Santa Monica High School, who gave his speech, right, about why can't the janitors pick up my trash, that broken little boy, that little Nazi standing up there saying that, right, if you talk disrespectfully to an ICE agent, they can shoot you in the head. They have absolute immunity. They're like the Einsatzgruppen in
Mhm.
in the Ukraine, following behind the Wehrmacht, the Waffen SS. They can do as they please. Bullshit. And by the way, I think the danger is a lot of these ICE guys who can't read and write are stupid enough to believe that's true. But mark my words, right? Every
Yeah,
illegal order, every email, all of it,
yeah.
all of it, right? He's going to be seen. The crimes will be prosecuted. Ross is not getting off on this, right? Who shot Renee Good? I'm going to tell you what happened, right? Everyone just needs to be patient. So every day for 3 years, as he's looking at his Filipino immigrant wife, what he's got to realize is at high noon on January 20th, 2029, that the Justice Department's no longer going to obstruct the investigation around a crime for which there's no statute of limitations. And there's going to be a jail cell that closes behind him, and he's going to be living in a penitentiary next to Derek Chauvin, and it's going to happen. And he's not going to be the only one. You have a out of control federal department, this Homeland Security Department, that is using Nazi propaganda,
Every day.
full stop.
Yeah.
Right? The
One of ours, one of yours, one country, one heritage, one
very,
people.
very
Yeah.
specifically,
Yeah.
one of ours, all of yours is a Nazi threat, literal translation, and that's on Kristi Noem's podium.
Mhm.
That's on Kristi Noem's podium. And so, as Thomas Paine said, tyranny like hell is not easily conquered. Right? But freedom is something ephemeral. And he also added that heaven knows how to put a proper price on its goods. And that's why the cost of freedom has been so high.
Well said, Steve. Everybody, Steve Schmidt, the warning. Go give him a sub. Hit that Chiron right at the top if you can. Paid or not, this deserves to be shared because we're in a moment. And that moment has the real and it's got fraudulent bullshit as well. You know, part of the thing that I kind of respect about this regime is they're now saying the quiet part out loud. But we're also seeing people that were involved in the regime that have put on this brave face of, I'm a changed person. I'm in it for the people. We're seeing those people get caught up in the Epstein files as well. And I want to talk a little bit about Michael Cohen. Now, this has been a big fight and has been for quite some time. And somehow I got sucked into it a couple of weeks ago. Zev Shalev brought Michael Cohen on the show with Lev, one of my partners who you know. Lev Parnas doesn't need any introduction. And challenged him on his history with Epstein and his maintenance that he never had anything to do with Epstein, didn't know anything about Epstein, didn't know about any of the pedophilia, didn't run interference for Donald Trump. And Ellie Leonard, who we also work with here, broke the story, something that had also happened to Tara Palmieri, who you know very well, and I know you're going to speak to that. And I know Tara, too. She does just incredible work. And she had the very similar experience with Michael Cohen about a year ago, where she said, it doesn't make sense. You were with Donald Trump for 14 years. You were his fixer. This is the time when people were being approached, threatened, et cetera, in and around Epstein, where Donald Trump had something to do with Epstein. Now, a letter came out yesterday that Ellie Leonard found deep in the Epstein files, which I don't know if she was supposed to. And Ellie is incredible. You should have her on the warning. She's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I'll hook her up with you. She's incredible. So this email is from 2019, and this is just prior to Michael Cohen's sentencing. And this is a note to file with an assistant United States attorney, Southern District of New York, to someone from somebody. Everything's been redacted in terms of names, but I'll read this to you, and I want your thoughts about Rule 35 as well. We'll get to that. Mike Monaco and Barry Spiewak called on behalf of Michael Cohen. They asked whether we would file a Rule 35, which is to reduce sentencing to give dirt on somebody else. It's in the United States. It's a law in the United States of America. And requested a meeting to discuss it. I asked what had changed since we told them April 17th we did not intend to file such a motion. They said that Cohen, quote, has heard Trump say things about Epstein, but would not get into detail at this time about what those were, then attempted to rehash our April 17th conversation about Rule 35 and asked for specifics about what Cohen had done to undermine his credibility. I said I would consider whether we were willing to provide more specifics from redacted name, Assistant United States Attorney. basically blowing up every assertion Michael Cohen has ever made that he had nothing to do with any of the Epstein victims, any interference on behalf of Donald Trump, any communications about Epstein with Donald Trump, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Validation for years for people like Tara Palmieri, people like Zev Shalev, people like Lev, who boldly called him out, even though he was his friend. Would welcome your thoughts because I know you have some.
Well, do you want to share the advice I gave you at the ball game?
Do you mind if I do?
No, no.
Okay.
And
So
then I will, and then
you'll fill it
right,
in.
go ahead, and then
Okay.
I'll jump in.
So a few months ago, ladies and gentlemen, Steve and I are very good friends. Not just when we do this, but outside. We went to a ton of baseball games. We get together one day, and he's like, "How was your day?" And I go, "Great." Had Cohen on the show. Steve, at that point in time, had a pork slider in his hand, and he stopped eating the pork slider and he put the down on his plate. And in the only way Steve Schmidt can communicate, he slowly stopped eating. And he looked at me and he said, and I quote, "Stay away from Cohen."
So here's the question that I wanted always to ask Michael Cup.
Yeah.
It would have been this. And again, I preface this as saying I worked at the highest level of American politics, running campaigns, and
When it
it's
was
a
real.
very, very small group of people run the presidential campaigns. There's no shortage of people on Substack, on MS Now, who are analysts, who call themselves political consultants, that have never been involved in a winning campaign. It's one of the few vocations where you can be like a fake professional baseball player, right? And just go on and make it up. But the question I wanted to ask Michael Cohen was this: it was like, how do you feel uh, about being literally the dumbest fucking guy in the history of American politics, the only one who ever went to prison for paying off a presidential candidate's mistress? Right? It's an incredible achievement when you think about it. Not to digress too much, but at any rate, um, let me
I think you
start
just,
with
by the way, I
Tar.
think you just asked him. So there you go.
Right? Let me. No, stupidity is an unexplored area of science that I'm more and more interested in the deeper we get into the Trump era. But another conversation. But let me say something about Tara. I have said over and over again. I've said it in writing. I've said it on live Substacks. I've said it to Tara. Um, she's the best.
Yeah.
She's great at what she does. And so she does this interview with Michael Cohen. And I found it to be, and she reposted it today. I
Hmm.
If you do whatever the shit you do with the phone that you put it on the TV, and you kind of are into you like the trial shows, you like A Few Good Men, you like seeing a good interrogation. It's incredible, right? Tara Palmieri and Michael Cohen. And Tara's body language, her skepticism, her question set, and she cracks him like a walnut.
Mhm.
And Cohen's problem, coming back to the low IQ part, is that, like a lot of bullshitters, he thinks he can talk his way out of it. And when you have somebody who did something wrong, right? A lot of parents know this, right? With the teenagers, right? If they're talking a lot, right, in defense, yeah, right. There's a reason for that, right? And that's Michael Cup. So she cracks him like a nut. And it's at that moment, right? And this is not classified, right? Tara's got a big platform. A lot of people saw it. I put it out. But Michael Cohen, because he doesn't like Trump, or so he says, great hero of the resistance. He probably got his own makeup room at MS Now, like Hegseth's got at the Pentagon. right? All of a sudden, Michael Cohen goes from exquisite scumbag to yay, Michael Cohen. Michael doesn't like Trump. So Michael Cohen's good. Same basic principle around by which you get to hear Michael Avenatti doing some opining from federal prison. And the truth is, they're all the same person. And so Michael Cohen, for years now, has run his last con. And sometimes, again, because he's dumb, he says shit like when he gets asked a question, hey, do you miss Trump and being in the game? And when he was asked that about a year ago, he said, yeah, if I could, I'd get back into it. No shit. And so here's the deal. Donald Trump is a pedophile protector. Ghislaine Maxwell is the only convicted child sex trafficker in America who's been moved from a maximum security prison to a minimum security prison. She's the only convicted sex offender in a minimum security prison who gets special treatment and favors. And she's the only one around which, if there are informants at the prison who communicate about that special treatment, who's powerful enough that those prisoners get punished, according to Julie K. Brown. And so the person who did this for Trump was Michael Cohen. And the questions that Tara was asking were trying to get to the bottom of the minor who filed the rape allegation against Trump. And you can watch Michael Cohen's answers and understand that there's no credibility there. And so lo and behold, and this is a preface of what's gonna come for these ICE guys, for the contractors, for everything. We're gonna know everything. Just not gonna know it tomorrow. The bill comes due. And so now everybody who's had an association with Michael Cohen has been hung out to dry by a guy who's a pathological liar, who abused everybody's trust, everybody's grace, everybody's belief that he saw the light. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Mm.
And that's what got proved today.
You know, it's unfortunate too. Please.
Let me add. You got me fired up. I see
please.
him on fucking MSN now again. I'm going to run ads in New York targeting the president of the network by name. Well, go ahead, make my fucking day.
Okay. Fair enough. I wouldn't if I'm you. You bring up a couple points here that I think are really, really important. I mean, not just the context, the last con, the fact that even the heel turn from a heel turn was a con, but I think about people like Tara Palmieri, and I think about people like Zev Shalev, who on a podcast, Michael Cohen said, I hope Zev chokes. I hope he dies, effectively, for questioning him about what we know to be incredibly true. And it's one gear that Cohen has, apparently. And it's a shame, too, because Michael Cohen is a very funny person. Michael Cohen could have been a very serious agent for change. But what he did was he kept some of those fucking skeletons back for some reason. Because to your point, in conversations I've had with other folks, they all said the same thing that you just said, is that if Michael Cohen had his druthers, he'd be back with his criminal enterprise friends doing criminal enterprise things, working with Donald Trump, working with a rapist, working with the felon, fixing, threatening, doing what he does best. And the bone of contention here about this minor, Katie Johnson, I believe is her name, this minor who alleged that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein raped her, who was threatened, cajoled, maybe paid off. No one seems to know right now. Not by Michael Cohen, who claims that he was trying to pay someone off named Jane Doe. That was the bone of contention in the Palmieri interview, where she smoked him out. Same thing with Zeb. He smoked him out. And Michael has been running from this for a long time. And in private conversations has asserted that to me. In private conversations has told me to beware of people like Tara Palmieri. Yeah, fuck, dude. Let's just call it. Let's just bring it out and throw it on the table. I showed you that text. This is not something or someone who operates on the level like anybody else, even though he tries to communicate that he is because he wants to be part of the grift. And I think that's the shitty part. But I also think today the Schadenfreude's a thing, right? People like Tara Palmieri, she's got a little fucking pep in her step today. Validation is a big deal when you go up against people like Michael Cohen. And if you're Michael Cohen and you're sitting there today, and I would say this to you, Michael, I know that you've, I know that you're I know you're fucked. I know you're fucked. And as someone who knew you, someone who knows you, someone who's worked with you, someone who's talked to you, someone who's broken conversations with you, someone who's had, in-depth conversations, all you have to do is tell the fucking truth. And if you'd done that the fucking first time, you wouldn't be in this mess. You wouldn't be completely persona non grata. Because what he did was he just alienated himself from every side. Like Michael Cohen is a man without a fucking home now. He's Tom Hanks in that movie where he lived in the fucking airport for a year.
He's got one play. One, I'm gonna tell him. And again, I always laugh about all these supposed crisis managers. One of them's a former Schumer aide, this Risa Heller, who the New York Times or one of them did a big profile on. She's like a specialist in dick pics, and she was Olivia Nuzzi's crisis manager for the rollout. And
She a certified specialist in that capacity or no?
right. And so, like, let me offer some advice to Michael as somebody who's actually done that line of work, not for pedophiles or anything, but for example, when a nuclear reactor fails in Fukushima, right? I worked for GE when Tom Brady and Deflategate, did that, and have worked with some of the most complex kind of crisis situations, big companies and everything else. He has one pick tomorrow at the latest. You tell the whole truth, the full truth, and the only truth, which is the truth. And he ought to do it on Leb's platform. And he gets one chance. No more bullshit. Now, I never, ever before today have said a bad word about Michael Cohen.
Mm-hmm. Me neither.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But he brought it on himself. Now, with regard to the email you showed me about Tara, as you recall, it made me very unhappy.
Yes.
After Michael does that, he should go for a walk in Nepal for about 6 months. Hang out with some monks. Get some perspective. Do some breathing. And when you come back in 10 months, we'll see what you have to say. See if you've had any evolution as a human being. We're all works in progress after all. But that's it. That's the advice. And you should take it and stop trying to play everybody because the gig is up. And the person who unmasked them in the most decisive way was Tara Palmieri, because Tara is an exceptional person who cares a lot about other people and the truth. And it's got an incredible story in Vanity Fair about this crazy MAGA church in Washington that's worth the Vanity Fair subscription alone. But she is a person who went door to door around the country with the Epstein survivors, helping them look for truth and justice. She has been smeared. She has been mocked. She has been attacked. She has been threatened. She has been called names, and she has not backed down. And you know what that's called? That's called journalism.
Courage.
Not what Phony DeCouple and Barry Weiss do. That's propaganda. right? So we got what do we got? We got one. Well, I can't shit, Dean. I'm getting old. I
I
can't
think 2,000
We got
people on this
we
side.
got 2,000 people here, right? You got 2,000 people here. So subscribe to Dean's Substack and subscribe to the Red Letter, right? Which is Tara Palmieri's exceptional
Mhm.
journalism platform. She is a one woman network, and I cannot put into words my admiration for her.
Yeah.
Good for Tara on this.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Cosigned. I share. This community is kind of small, and you'll often share kudos. You'll sell people bouquets and say, "Great job." And Tara and I have a nice little, email chain going back and forth. Like, great job with this. Thanks so much. Great job with that. Really appreciate it. She is not just dogged professionally. She's a human being that has incredible values, incredible virtues, and the courage she has shown in the face of this for the past year has been absolutely remarkable, which is why I point to the validation she got today, being very much worth it and very much worth everybody's subscription because she is the gold standard on this app, without question, to your point. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Listen, I'll let you go. I know you got some Florida sunshine to get. Parting words for the warning. Everybody go subscribe to Steve. The warning, you can get it here. Go to the Save America Movement website as well. SaveAmerica.org is where you can go. And we've got more information on some things we'll be doing with you. But parting words for you, Steve?
Yeah, I want to. Here's what I want to say. Thomas Paine had a quote about call me rebel. It doesn't bother me. And so I guess I have to offer a guilty plea to domestic terrorism today. Um, because I believe in a couple of things that I'm not going to back up from. I believe that all men and women are created equal and endowed by their creator with inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if that makes me a terrorist, so be it. I believe in government of the people, by the people, for the people. And if that makes me a domestic terrorist, so be it. I believe in the freedom of speech. I believe in the Fourth Amendment. I believe that no American should fear their government. The man who spent 275 hours interrogating Adolf Eichmann was a German Jew named Abner Less, who became an Israeli police captain. And 20 years after Eichmann was hung, he was asked a question about whether he had any takeaways from the experience. And what he said was, I do. It gave me my full faith in democracy. He said there are Adolf Eichmanns all around us. They are everywhere, but they are latent in a democracy. They turn deadly in an instant in a dictatorship. The ice Nazi Ross is a little Eichmann. Pam Bondi is a little Eichmann. Christy Nome is a little Eichmann. Stephen Miller is a little Eichmann. Corey Lewandowski is a little Eichmann. They are all little Eichmanns. All of them. One of the things we put out today by the Save America movement is an ad I'm really proud of. It is set to a great song in the history of the country, the battle cry of freedom. And some of the words of that song include up with the star and down with the traitor. And I hope people go to the Save America website, saveamericamovement.org, and I hope you watch that ad. We will prevail over this indecency, over this fear. Be not afraid, my friend.
Yeah. Good.
We will endure, and this will end. The American people are revolted by this. The American people are repulsed by it. Do not be hypnotized by the fact that Trump has virulent support. There was something said in Nazi Germany that holds true to the day, which was that the Germans learned that a third of the country would kill the other third of the country with the third standing by. The overwhelming majority of Americans are appalled by this. And what they are waiting for is an opposition worthy of them. And that's where Chuck Schumer, the appeaser, falls flat. It's where Hakeem Jeffries, the appeaser, doesn't measure up. The difference that has defined us by party, by label, all of it is gone now. There are but two parties in America. And this is what Ulysses Grant said. There are two parties in America, traitors and patriots. And I want to hereafter be associated with the latter. And so should all of you.
Steve Schmidt, ladies and gentlemen, as always, he never disappoints. Thank you for resetting our compasses today. I really appreciate it, brother. As always, a little history, some personal.
Later in the afternoon.
Yeah, not bad.
On our private hotline, and and we will. I'll see you again soon. We're gonna start doing these every week, everybody. No one will talk more than Dean. And everybody, I will be on with Tara at 4:00. So if you are free at 4:00 today, I'll be on with Tara Palmieri. I know a lot of people who would watch me. I usually try not to do something at 4:00 when Acosta's doing his stuff, but we are beholden to Tara's schedule today, and so I'm thrilled that we're gonna have Tara Palmieri on here to talk about Michael Cohen and other stuff in the MAGA church, and that's the deal.
All right, Red Letter, Tara Palmieri. That's where you're going to find her and Steve at around 4:00 today. So we'll give her a sub. Make sure you jump into the chat as well. Give her a paid sub, everybody. She deserves to get paid for that work. Unmasking people is incredible.
Absolutely, best respect. Okay,
yeah, and thanks, brother. Talk to you soon, Steve. Steve Schmidt, The Warning, and SaveAmerica.org is where you can find him. Go donate to SaveAmerica.org today. We'll have more news on some world-beating stuff that we'll be doing with the Save America movement here in Canada to protect Canada, to save America, to protect Europe. It's all connected. And I want to thank Steve and thank everybody for joining us today. Really appreciate it as always. I'm going to jump off. I'll be back with Zev Shalev right here for the 5-stack. We're going to bring Lev Parnas in. I'll tell him what Steve just said about inviting Michael on his show for a mea culpa. And I'm sure we'll deal with that. We have a major Greenland breaking news. Greenland, Denmark, of course. The Prime Minister of Denmark, Prime Minister of Greenland met with J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States and notorious couch fucker, as well as little Marco Rubio, who is, well, let's just say he is not what he says he is. Anyway, and Lisa Murkowski today, they were talking about maybe swapping Greenland. I have no idea what happened. I've seen a couple of little things in here, so I'm going to jump off. We're going to get updated, and then we'll be back for a quick 5-stack. I think we're going to do, it might be a longer 5-stack today, as a matter of fact, and then maybe a panel with Lev. But either way, Lev and Ellie are going to join us, and we'll deal with this Cohen email, we'll deal with Greenland, and we'll deal with Denmark, and we'll deal with the United States. And we'll see you soon. I love y'all. Don't forget, subscribe to Steve, The Warning. And as always, this gets to the top of the algorithm by hammering those hearts, hitting that little square at the bottom of your screen, and sharing this with as many people as humanly possible. And paid subs get this to the top of the algorithm. It's just what it is. And more importantly, it gets you unlimited access to deanblundell.substack.com, where you can connect with all of us, talk to all of us, ask questions, join the chat, join the community, join the resistance. And I've been blown away by your support. So we've got 25% off annual subscriptions all the way to the end of the month. So you get unlimited access to everything we do, all of our partners, all of our podcasts, all of our lives, all of our content. And we've got some big news to announce tomorrow that we're going to do with just our paid subscribers. So if you could go there and do it a monthly, a yearly, or a founding membership, I think we're like 4 away from 50 founding members, which would be really incredible. If you could do that, we'd really appreciate it. If what we do here means something to you, and you want to share it, or you want to, reimburse yourself by reimbursing us for the time that we put in, it keeps us moving. And cannot thank you enough for the support. It's been absolutely phenomenal. So really appreciate it. But see you at the Five Stack in around 3 o'clock. So just a couple of minutes. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks, Steve, for joining us today as well. Bye now.